have a question about sweepstakes, contests, or giveaway, my name is Carolyn, and I'm known as the Contest Queen, and I teach others how to find, organize, enter, and win sweepstakes, contests, and giveaways. And tonight is my monthly sweepstakes Q&A, and we've had a bunch set in advance. So I'm going to get started and start answering these questions that I have in front of me, and then as people join and they have those questions, I'm going to answer those too, because who doesn't like to win? All right. The first one is from Ivor. Actually, Ivor had a lot of questions for me. He sent in 3. So we're going to start with his first one. It says, if the contest says single, would I be caught if I enter daily? Ooh, a little bit of a cheating vibe, because he really wants to win. And the answer is yes, because not only am I a contester and a sweepstakes teacher, I'm also a sweepstakes marketer. And what companies do is something called a dedupe, which means they search the database for duplicates. Okay, so they unduplicate the database. And what they do, and it's so simple because everything's computerized now. Back in the day, when it was single entry and you were mailing in and there was thousands and thousands and thousands of mail-in entries coming, you might get away with throwing in a few extra, entries into the pot, because, if there's 100,000 letters, it's really hard to catch, a second or third entry. However, it is very easy with computers. All they have to do is organize the database, and then, depending on the rules, they will either throw out all of your entries or all but one entry. So then you've just wasted your time and the sponsor's time. And then they don't really look favorably upon those that cheat. Not cool. So don't cheat. Just follow the rules. And besides, why would you waste your time trying to cheat your way into a giveaway when you can spend that time entering other giveaways legitimately and more likely to win? Right? Oh, Teresa popped in with a comment. Oops, that was Beverly's. Hi, Beverly. I lost $500 because of a duplicate entry. Now, that's a little frustrating. Oops, howdy, Carolyn. Oops. They have changed how clicky their comments are here. Anyway, here, I use StreamYard. It's actually very handy. A lot of streamers use it. So what happens is a good company, if they have the budget, will, in fact, have something called a repeat entry block added to the sweepstakes. Unfortunately, depending on the budget, they might not be able to afford to add that feature and rely on the honesty of the sweepstaker. But the other problem is, Teresa probably wasn't cheating. She said she had a duplicate entry, which means it might have been a long entry period. She probably, say it's 30 days. She enters at the beginning of the month. If you're entering giveaways every day, would you remember 30 days later that you entered that giveaway and you enter again on the last day? Probably not. I know I sure wouldn't. It's easy to make that mistake. So that's another reason to use a sweepstakes aggregate that helps you track what you've already entered. So that might be a tip. But yeah, that can be frustrating. It's really hard. Oh, something happened to my mouse there. Yeah, Oxford says, yes, never cheat. It's not good karma. But again, like I said, Teresa probably lost because they didn't have a repeat entry block set up, and it's easy to forget. So there's a difference between cheating where you're like, oh, I'm going to enter this every day and maybe they won't notice, and absolutely forgetting that you've entered and then enter again and they don't have that block set up. I always am so thankful when I go and sometimes I've forgotten and I enter and they go, oh, you can't enter. You've already entered this. I'm like, oh, thank goodness they have the block set up. So it just saves me from myself. Okay, so let me see what else. Ivor has got a lot of questions. So the other question, and this is actually a fairly popular question too. Is it better to enter a contest early in the morning or midday? Well, actually, he left out evening, and So basically, is it better to enter in the morning, afternoon, or in the evening? I say enter at any time. Just get those entries in. Now, it is better to enter generally in the middle of the night or early in the morning, because statistics show that generally there's less people entering for instant win prizes. So if you look at a graph of, the amount of people entering and all the times, if you are at all a content creator, you've seen the back end analytics of all the social media platforms or the ones that you use, and you know that they'll show you a graph of when people are active and when the most people are on, so you can kind of pick the best times for you to post for your audience. But to me, it's the same. I just post whenever I get a chance and enter. Just get those entries in. Because even though I, in my brain, think, oh, I am better off winning first thing in the morning, I have won some of my best instant prizes in the middle of the day, just because it's randomized. What the companies do is they program the computer and they say, okay, we have this many prizes, this day, we have to give away this many prizes over this many days. And there's so many little ones, so many big ones, they put it all on the computer, and then it just gets randomized. So you could win at 1:02 in the afternoon. You could win at 6:37 in the morning. You could win at 11:58 at night. You can win at any time. There is no guessing. It's probably similar software to the gambling, to like slot machines, where it's completely randomized. It's the same thing. It's completely randomized. So the first person to enter after the selected time wins the instant prize. So it's really good. And then his last question is, please show me how to cut down on the time I spend entering contests. That is a class in itself, and I actually teach that class. I have Sweepstakes for Beginners and RoboForm 101. The next set of classes is in January. So I'm only teaching September, January, and May right now. That might increase, but because I am on track to publish 5+ books in 5 months, that was a goal that I decided to set for myself. And I am actually on track, which is amazing, but I have very little time to enter my own giveaways, and I had to let something go, and classes was one of them. So I'm only teaching. That said, it's also in my book. If you go to Amazon, the Kindle version of You Can't Win If You Don't Enter is only $1.99. It's, you can't beat that. But the other thing you can do, I did email him back with some tips. So here's some tips. 1, use a sweepstakes aggregate that has an organizing feature in it. 2, or use your own system, such as RoboForm, my favorite, or your browser to organize your sweepstakes. Because if you're organized, you're going to spend less time. And then also using a sweepstakes aggregate, you'll spend less time looking for legitimate giveaways. And they've also already vetted the rules. It's one of the good reasons you want to pay for a sweepstakes aggregate, like sign up for a newsletter or an online subscription, because that helps support the site. And then they, in turn, then have the resources to offer all their services. The internet's free for you to use. It's not free for those of us putting stuff on it. We have to pay for web hosting and a webmaster and a mail server and all these things. And so when you subscribe, you're supporting that, and it only benefits you. So those are my tips on to cutting down entering time. There was one more. Enter for the big things that you really want to win first. So if you have not enough time today, you can only enter, 10 or 15. You're entering for all the big ones you really want to win. And then the little prizes, well, if you don't get to those, that's okay. Okay, let's see if I have any posted in before I go on to Vicky's question. Oh, here's a good one. This is also from Teresa. You recently messaged to look for sweepstakes on TikTok. All I'm finding are influencers who have packages of beauty products. How do I find others? Well, that might be all that's on there. You can, so a couple of different places. One, you can do Google searches for TikTok and sweepstakes. I'm finding a lot of companies are saying, follow us on Instagram and TikTok because they're wanting to spread. So you can actually find TikTok giveaways on Instagram. Do searches in the sweepstakes aggregates for TikTok giveaways, because the big ones, like, like these companies that want you to make a video and show your whatever, your best pasta recipe or your dance moves or how you like their product, whatever, those you'll probably find on the large sweepstakes aggregates, because the prizes on those ones tend to be a bit bigger. 2 summers ago, I know someone that won $10,000 for making a TikTok video, but they really did everything right and mirrored the brand, because again, they want people who love their product and look like they could be a spokesperson for them. So, you have to keep that in mind when you're doing the giveaways. The other thing you can do is you can search for the hashtag sweepstakes or a hashtag giveaway, and then use the filter to look for only the recent ones. Yeah, there's a lot of beauty influencers on there, but I have been finding the other thing to have is a circle of friends to tag, that you tag in the giveaways. And then when you get tagged, you're like, oh, there's another giveaway. So those are my tips on the TikTok giveaways. Okay, let's go to Vicky's question, and then I'll go back to the comments. Vicky says, I'm wondering how often trip prizes can be substituted for cash instead of travel, if ever. I'm also worried about providing my date of birth on entries. Do you provide an accurate date of birth on the forms? Don't worry, it is sensitive information. Thanks much. I usually alter my date of birth slightly, which might disqualify my entry. Thanks. Okay, so here's one. It's again, you have to read the rules. If the rules say that they're not going to substitute the travel for cash, then they're not. The only time I saw that really change was when we suddenly had lockdowns, and the companies that chose not to stop their giveaways did say right when you got to the new homepage of the giveaway that it said, if travel isn't possible, we are choosing to substitute cash. And that was up to them, because there's also a clause in the sweepstakes rules that allows them to change the giveaway at any time. So then they thought, well, if we can't send him in a trip, we'll just give him the cash. And that was up to their discretion. But generally, if it says that the trip, there's no substitutions, there's no substitutions. So if you can't travel and you're looking for cash, you have to find that clause in the rules that you can take a cash option, or just focus on the cash giveaways and the gift card giveaways. And the second part of your question is on date of birth. I have always provided my accurate date of birth. I've never had a problem. If you alter it by one day, say you're born on a 5th and you type in 6, if you win and they ask for your date of birth and they say, oh, it doesn't matter, you say, oh, I must have hit the wrong key. You can be off by a day or so. Yeah. Oh, that was a typo. I was actually born on this day. I wouldn't alter it too much, but just make it like a typo. But I don't know. I've never had a problem. I've been doing this. I've been entering sweepstakes online for 22 years, and I've never had a problem. So, yeah, that's my thoughts. Now, somebody might have had different experience. I know Tom Cavalli, I believe Tom Cavalli always puts on all his proper information, and he hasn't had any problems either. And he's won 84 trips, or maybe he's up to 85. I don't know. I've lost track. That man wins trips. It also depends on where you live, and if you have the time to enter for trips. Okay, let's see if there's another question here. Oh, Well, we'll just give out a shout out because I love accolades. I had a surprise win in the mail today. I won a $400 Walmart gift card as a first prize win. Grand prize was a 3-night Disney cruise on the Wish. Dang. Oh, I've had that. It's great, but bridesmaid, but not the bride, right? Oh, dang. It was so close, but still really good. I mean, how much stuff can you buy at Walmart that's, your toiletries, your clothes, your groceries? I mean, that's an awesome win. That's the other nice thing about the hobby is you go in, there's all kinds of prizes like a dream trip to the Disney cruise, but also really practical. Like now that's $400 he doesn't have to spend out of his budget. And then he can use that money that he would have spent on, say, groceries to pay down debt, to save for vacation, to put it, like he can use the money, save up for a house rental. Like you can take that money and then put it somewhere else. So it's fantastic that you won that. That's a really good prize. And it was a surprise. That's what I always call it. Right? How fun. Oh, Oxford says, here's a good question. On August 4th, I won from Sweet Chili. You won $100 Visa, a shirt, and a beanie. Oh, fun. I've mailed them 5 different times and they apologized once, but still no prize. Do I bother? Yeah, it's $100 though. I get irked as a marketer, as a sweepstakes marketer. That bugs me to no end. So here's the first questions that I ask. Who are you talking to? Are you actually talking to the company or are you talking to their agency? Because if you're talking to their agency, I would contact the marketing department of the sponsor and say, hey, you had this fantastic giveaway on, I don't know, Instagram. And the agency you hired hasn't done any prize fulfillment and they're not responding to my emails. And I'm getting concerned because I was named one of the 5 winners or whatever. And I was so excited because, I love your brand, blah, blah, blah. Can you help me get my prize? And just see what happens because poop rolls downhill. Now, if you are talking to the actual sponsor because it's a small business, see if you can find somebody higher up. Because I did a whole blog post on this. You can go Google it. You can go look on Contest Queen called Poop Rolls Downhill. So the higher up you go, they'll be like, the director of marketing is going to be like, why are you bothering me with this? Intern, why aren't you doing your job? It'll get resolved. So it's not a huge prize. And at some point you want to cut your losses. But as a sweepstakes marketer, it irks me to the point where I've hunted people down on LinkedIn. I've chased because it just bothers me that someone isn't doing their job. And even if they're having problems with the prize, like say, for example, they're waiting for the shirts to come in because the shirts haven't come in yet, right? So they have 2 parts of the prize and they're waiting on the swag. Okay. They should at least message you back and say, oh, we're sorry for the delay. We haven't got all 3 pieces of your prize yet. Please be a little patient. We're working on it as fast as we can. If you had some communication from them, you wouldn't care. You would be absolutely patient. It wouldn't bother you in the slightest. But when they just ghost you, that makes me crazy. So let me know if you're going to channel your inner stubborn Carolyn and chase that prize or not. Just saying. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions before the thread gets so long that I miss some. And then, I see some of the other people, like Bill's here, and I saw Beverly and Rosalind. You guys, I'm sending out the email tomorrow. There is a virtual contest club meeting this Saturday at 1:00, and there's still space. So if you'd like to join me, it's like Hollywood Squares, right? There's a lot of us, or Brady Bunch. It's so fun. Actually, last time I think we had 20. It was so fun. It was like a mosaic. And we were all sharing our wins and we were laughing our head off, and everybody teases each other. It's just a great group. And also, if you have questions, about certain sweepstakes. Someone say, hey, I was entering this one. I was having a little trouble. Anybody else entering? What are you doing? We help each other out that way. We talk about what we've won. We all cheer because sometimes you can't tell everybody because they go, really, you won again? They don't want to hear it. And that's why I also have a Good Vibration Sweepstakes Club group on Facebook. I have to admit, I've been a little bit neglectful. I haven't checked it. I used to check it every few days and, comment and tag and post. And I haven't done that in probably about 2 weeks. So I'm going to go in there and be refreshing it and put in a new tagging thread. And I even shared something that I won because even though I'm entering a lot less, it's not zero. It's never zero. So that's also a good place you can share your wins. And some people just like to go for the good vibes. Ooh, this is a good one about intuition. I've been so busy lately. I know something about that. I haven't entered much and I haven't won barely anything lately. Feel like something big around the corner though. Yeah, it only takes one. So I have like I said, I've hardly been entering. And Sunday of all days, somebody's working on a Sunday. I got notified I won a $25 gift pack from Old Dutch Chips. And I had to fill out the form and then I pick all the flavors of chips I want. And then there's some swag. So I get 4 bags of chips or 4 coupons for chips. I'm assuming they're sending the chips because they specifically asked for the flavors. So I got to mix and match all the flavors I wanted. And there's probably some swag in there. And that's fun. As I taught my daughter when she was little about pizza, but I can apply it to chips. What's better than chips? Free chips. It's the best. So even though I haven't been entering a lot, just one here and one there, it only takes one to win. That's what I remember when I'm entering. So just keep that. Ooh, Georgette said she won a $2,500 check. The form would not open in the mail. Oh my God, I've been calling the company for 3 months and they are trying to get a response from the sweepstakes management company. Any advice? Whoa, that isn't cool. Yeah, that's not cool at all. So let's see. So the company hired this agency and the agency isn't even answering the sponsor. That's really bad. Wow. Clearly they know something's going on, that they're not going to disqualify you because clearly the sweeps management company isn't doing their job. What I would do is I would basically LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn for this. I would go and find who the higher ups are at both companies. See if you can find out who the president of each company and write a physical letter that gets mailed and sat on their desk, which in this day and age is like, what? A letter? They will read it because nobody sends letters. It's easy to ignore an email. It's harder to ignore a letter. So I would write a letter to both companies and see if you can get whoever's the highest up in each company. So you send the same letter to both. You sign one to, Dear Bob and CC, so you're going to write the sweepstakes management company. Hey, I'm missing my prize. This is what happens. We haven't heard from you. I've been in touch with the sponsor. They can't seem to get you either. I'm really concerned, yada, yada, yada. CC at the bottom, the president of the sponsor, and then send both letters out and see what happens. Because that would make me crazy. I got a trigger mouse here, just clicking on everything. Yeah, the comments are really sensitive to clicking. Oh, Bill says, I'm a beauty influencer out here. At least I should be. Yes, you should, Bill. Oh, yeah. See, Mary's got a good point. I always put in my date of birth. I figure if somebody wanted to steal it, there's easier places to scrape it. She's not wrong. Oh, we're going to send Laura some birthday fairy dust. Lucky. You're going to win something tomorrow. Tomorrow's my birthday. Hopefully I'll win something. Not hopefully, you are going to win something. That's how we're going to frame it. I'm winning something on my birthday. I just don't know what it is. That's what you should say. Oh, Merkel. Goodness gracious. I'm talking to Marlboro, and I think Merkel handles the prizes. Merkel, this is where the conglomerates keep getting bigger. It was E-Prize at one point, and then they rebranded. They got bought out, and they got rebranded as Hello World. And then Merkel bought Hello World. I don't know. I lost track of the whole, like, bigger fish, climbing on the smaller fish and getting swallowed in. And then it's like an elephant, and they're just lumbering around, and you try to get answers, and it's very hard. But yeah, find out what I would say. If you're talking to Margarol, here's what I did once. So I worked at an agency, so I know how they set up the staff. I was missing a prize. It never showed up. And we emailed them. There was zero response. So I know it was from Pepsi. It was a Gatorade prize. So I know Pepsi and Gatorade, they aren't running their own sweepstakes. I know an agency's doing it. So I read the rules and I figure out what agency is running it. So I go to LinkedIn and I find every account manager for that company. And I start phoning and emailing who has the Pepsi Gatorade account. Like, who's the account manager for that company? And I called and messaged everybody. I had no response. But then I get a call from the post office and they say, hey, we've had because I think they thought I stole it and just didn't tell them. So I get this call from the post office and they said, hey, did you get this package? And I'm like, are you calling about this package from this place? And this poor man on the phone, I just tore him. I just ripped him to shreds. I expected that thing, and I've been chasing it for weeks, and I don't know where it is. And this is unacceptable from the post office. I should be tracking, and had tracking on it, I'm sure. And where did it go? And yada, yada, yada. Well, we had also won hockey tickets that week when I finally got this call, because it had been months, like, chasing this prize. And we had won hockey tickets. So we go out and have a great time at the game. And we get home late. It was about this time of year. So hockey's on, but it's still warm out. It's not the dead of winter. So we get home, I don't know, midnight, 1 o'clock, because we're from downtown. And there's a package, a huge box on our porch that looks like that it went to Timbuktu and back. It looked terrible. Like, I'm amazed the contents were fine. So I thought, oh no, and I could tell this was the prize. So obviously the post office found the package that they lost, that they thought I might have just kept, and told the company, oh, I didn't get it. Because it was fairly expensive. Like, there was a set of Beats in there. I think it was $600 or $700, a year's worth of Gatorade coupons. Oh my God. My poor daughter drank Gatorade till it was going out of style. Anyway, so yeah, this thing came, and I thought the box looked bad, but thankfully everything inside. But it was a lot of chasing. So just don't get. And again, that to me, I'm the marketer, and I know what these people like are doing in the office, and I'm like, no, you're not dropping the ball on this. Like, this is not acceptable. I'm holding you to a higher standards, right? All I want is updates. It's not hard, but they don't think like that. And I don't blame everybody too much, because think about it. Marketers are people too. So there's somebody in the office that might be having a horrible day. We don't know what's going on with their family, their health, their life situation. We don't know. So we have to have a little bit of compassion, but at some point you're like, So I try to always be as kind as I can, because like I said, we don't know what's going on in someone else's day. And, we want to be treated with kindness. So I try and do that too. Like, hey, I really appreciate it. I have some questions, but after 3 months, you're like, you'll get grumpy. Oh, especially, when they say form filled in 7 days. But if you've been chasing them this long, they know there's an issue. So I'm sure if you can chase it long enough, it will come. let's see. And then oh, yeah. So, fun. Cheryl says, I enjoyed the club meeting the last time. It was my first time. I have a class reunion this Saturday. Oh, how fun. I'll catch the following one. Yeah, that's the other thing I do. I move the meetings around because people have busy lives. So I don't always want to do it on a Tuesday or a weekend. So sometimes I'll have a Saturday and another time I'll have a Sunday. One time it's on a Monday night, one time it's a Friday night, one time it's a Tuesday night, one time it's a Wednesday. So that way, if you have a class every Tuesday night, well, you might miss one meeting, but you can always come to the next one. And they're about approximately every 2 weeks. So there's usually 2 a month. I base it on like the month. So there's 24 meetings a year. I don't base it on like every 2 weeks. And like I said, I try and move them around so it's fairly even through the year, so everybody gets a chance to come. Oh, Daniel says, I had free pizza tonight. Well, la-di-da. Daniel frequently comes to our meetings. So if you'd like to meet Daniel and his antics, his winning, he does well. They actually, in the Good Vibration Sweepstakes Club, showed all the great t-shirts that they got from the various contests. Some companies do the best swag. I swear. Like, I love myself some good swag. Just saying. Let's see. Oh my gosh. This is a good, curious to know if most sweepers use Wi-Fi or if they're connected to the internet via the cable, and if that makes a difference in your wins. I'm connected. So it depends on where I'm entering. I have my computer plugged right into my router just because I do live streaming, and I make sure that I don't lose any signal, this is the best bandwidth I can get, right? Because I'm live streaming and I don't want to drop off. So that's why I'm plugged in. And also when I'm teaching, I don't want to, can you imagine I'm teaching in class and off I go, right? But a lot of times if I'm sitting in the living room watching TV with George and I have my little Chromebook and I'm entering, that's just Wi-Fi and I don't have any problems. I'm just wondering if you're thinking it's that much faster, so maybe you'll hit an instant better. But as for just entering a regular sweepstakes, I don't think it makes any difference. It's just get your entry in. Yeah, I think that's what you're asking. Now, here's an interesting trick that I learned. Sometimes if it doesn't like your Wi-Fi, if you're having trouble entering, or we have some radio stations, iHeart, that you'll enter one person and then you try to enter the other person. It says, oh, somebody already entered from your IP. What I do is I pick up my phone. I'll shut off the Wi-Fi. So the IP on the phone is not going to be the same as the house. And then I'll enter on the phone and I'll get not an extra entry. Because if I have to wait till their clock like fixes itself, I'm busy and I won't remember to go back. Actually, I'll remember the next day. I'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't enter George. And then it might be too late. So I don't forget, I will go and enter on my phone with the Wi-Fi off. I'll just use my data and then it'll allow me to enter him. So then we're following the rules. It's one entry per person, except that's how I get around their repeat. It's a kind of a ridiculous repeat entry block because someone from the same IP address, it doesn't matter. Like they can do the dedupe. But anyway. Oh, look at that. I won a bouquet of flowers each month for a year from Sunny Wines. Oh, nice. I took a photo of my first bouquet along with a bottle of their wine and a wine glass, tagged them in the Facebook and Instagram post. The person who notified me of the win sent me a win that they were thrilled with my post. I think you meant message. Win on the brain. It's always good to thank the sponsors. Yeah, that's a good reminder. I do so in the Good Vibration Sweepstakes Club, I do win occasionally and I do thank the sponsor. This was a fun win. So actually the last one I did was I did a 9-minute unboxing video on YouTube. And so I did it on YouTube because lately I've been thanking sponsors on TikTok and Instagram because it's quick and easy. and they're easy to tag there, and it's fun to have a little video and things. But that one I really wanted to tell the story, and so I did it on YouTube, and then did a shorter version later. But that I shared in the group. It was kind of fun. Oh, congratulations. So Flippin' Ohio, I took your advice from your video the other day, went on to local radio stations' websites, and entered for concert tickets. Bravo. Yeah, it's great. So there, like what I was saying in that video is there's 3 ways you can enter radio contests. Because you hear radio contest and you think, oh, I have to call in to win. Not necessarily. So the first one is the traditional, you're listening, they have the cue to call in, you dial, and your caller, I don't know, 7, 9, 25, whatever they pick, and you win whatever prize they're offering. Then if you go on their websites, they've done all kinds of web/text/listen contests. So you can, one radio station in my area right now, you go on their website, you find the times, and then I set the alarms on my phone, and you listen at 8, 11, 1, and 4 for a code word. When you hear the code word that they give you, you type in, you text it to them with your name, and if they call you back, you get to play Beat the Bank and win cash. Or not, depends if you bust the bank. So that is a text in, and so there's actually a couple of them doing it. Another one is that you register on their website, and then you listen so many times a day, and if you hear your name, you have 10 minutes to call back and you win money. Then they have the just regular sweepstakes. So you go on, it says enter here. They have an online form. You fill it out, you enter, and you can win just like any other regular sweepstakes. So there's lots of ways to win from the radio. The trick is to find all your local radio stations and save them in a weekly folder. And I go once a week and see what my local radio stations are doing, because they're always changing their giveaways. Let's see. Oh, this is a good tip from Bill. I enter all my sweepstakes on my phone using Wi-Fi. I've been winning prizes left and right, but I don't think using Wi-Fi versus Ethernet cable makes a difference. There you go. That's Bill's on your phone. Oh, that's bold. Maybe it's the reading glasses. These are my computer glasses, and I have regular glasses. Yeah, I prefer the computer because the screen's bigger and it's easier to type. But I like to do all my social sweeps on my phone. But bravo for you using your phone. When the rules ask for a plain piece of paper, can I use the back size of a lined piece of paper, or should both sides be plain? I just use, if it literally just says plain piece of paper and it does not indicate size, I reach over into my printer and pull one out, and I use literally a plain piece of paper. That's what I use. If it asks for a smaller size, then I'll measure it out and cut it. But I literally use a plain piece of paper. Oh, Georgette says I love swag too. And Bill says he used the BOGO code from Subway Instant Win tonight for dinner. I know, right? It's also good. Anyway, let's go back. I've got 3 more questions here. I don't want to miss them. Anthony asked, oh, there you go. Oh, was that Anthony? Oh, he didn't even, you were the next one up. Oh my God, that's so funny. Anthony, I have it. It's on here. I swear I was going to answer your question next. So let's put it up. This is very funny. Anthony writes, when rules ask for a plain piece of paper, can I just use the back of a lined piece of paper? Oh my gosh, you must have just copied the email. Lined piece of paper, or do both sides of the paper have to be plain? Yes. So I have actually, one of the things sweepers do a lot, this is actually a good tip. So depending, if it doesn't give a size, I literally just use a piece from my printer, like a blank piece of my printer. But I also work from home, so I have lots of plain paper. You know, we have we always try and keep 2 packs of plain paper, because every once in a while I might go on an accounting blitz or printing receipts and all that stuff. And I'll go through, 500 sheets pretty quick, and then we'll get low. So I always try and keep some, because you never know what project I might be doing. So I have that, but if it specifies a size, I have some kept from various events. I've won from sweepstakes conventions. People have given out pads of paper, so you can find them at the dollar store or like at a Staples, or you could probably find them on Amazon, depending. And they are different sizes, like 5x7 or 3.5x5 plain paper, because I know you can get 3.5 by plain cards. 3x5 plain cards, but you can also find them as paper. So depending on what the rules say, depends on the size. I also find it easier if it's big, because a lot of times it'll say on a plain piece of paper, write 150 word essay as to why you like blah, 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 include your name, address. So I start with the name and the address and put all that stuff. And then I say, I want to win this blah, blah, blah prize because, and what I've done is I've written it out in Word, because Word, or you can use any processor, has the word count. So I know if I've passed it, and I put that there. So that's a tip. I hope that answers your question. Maybe I should have put you first on the list. I just did them in order of how they came into my email. Joy says, almost all sweeps has a box to be checked indicating the person has read the rules. My question is, can people running sweepstakes be able to tell if the person entering has actually read the rules? I only look for two things in the rules: if it's valid in my state, and two, if the information has to be entered manually. Oh, that's interesting, because that is not what I look for when I'm reading the rules. So what I look for is the same: valid in my state. So eligibility, can I enter? So that's the same as the state question. Then I look for start and end dates to make sure I'm entering, because sometimes it rarely happens now, but I've seen it where they open up the form and it doesn't start till the next day or whatever. But generally, when does it end? Because if it's, and the frequency, how often can I enter? So if it says daily, I really want to know the end date, because I'm going to put it in my organization system and make sure that I can maximize on my entries when I'm not writing 5 books. Right? Because you want to maximize your entries. That's the name of the game. And it's a fun game. Yeah. So as for the manual entries, a lot of them say no automation. And what they mean is they don't want you to use like a bot farm to be entering all the giveaways. I've used RoboForm for 20 years and never had a problem. A lot of people, like most of the people I know, use autocomplete in their browser. They all have an autocomplete feature. And I don't know anybody that has problems. So if it specifically says you have to keystroke out the entry, then yeah. But it's not something I tend to look for. And then the last question before it gets asked again is, Beverly, do you think doing the extra things like following on Instagram and Facebook help? Yes, and maybe not for the reason you think. So first of all, a lot of times in the rules, if it's an Instagram giveaway, it says follow on Instagram or Facebook. If you're entering like a Gleam giveaway or a Rafflecopter giveaway and they say, hey, enter on Facebook and you get entries, yeah, following is going to get you those entries. However, if a company frequently hosts giveaways, and you're following them on social, you may spot a new giveaway from them and, be able to enter that before, maybe a sponsored post or something. So there are some companies that I specifically stay following on social because I know they're having like weekly or monthly giveaways and I want to be in on those. So I think it does help, depending on what you're looking for. Okay, let's see. Let me go to the bottom here and then work my way back up. Wow. Stephanie says, I won on my birthday this year. See? Good juju. The contest closed on the 20th. I was notified the next day. I won $1,000 cash off Instagram. This week I won a phone from AT&T on Twitter. You are just knocking it out of the park. That is fantastic. Oh my God, how fun is that? Oh, here's a good tip from Cheryl. She says, my fave tool for finding radio sweeps is radio-located.com. Oh, I used to use, I think it was Marco. So I hadn't heard of this one. Just put your town or nearby larger market in the search window. Oh yeah, that's the other point I have to make. Depends on also where you live. I live in a fairly large market because I live near Toronto. It's like living near Chicago, or probably Chicago is more like, because we're not as big as New York. So when you're closer to a larger market, there are more opportunities to go to sporting events and for concerts and things. If you're really rural and it's like 2 or 3 hour drive, be very cognizant of entering, because because of the lockdowns, a lot of companies now will email, believe it or not, we've got an email prize. Like if they're a gift card or something, they just email it to us and we can just use the codes online. Or they'll ship it to us or mail it to us, because they're like, yeah, you don't need to come down. Like they don't want people in the building, extra people in the building. So it's rare that I've had to go pick up tickets and things from a radio station. I went the other day and I tried to do this cool filming thing for TikTok, and I don't know, I buggered it up. So I never posted it, if you're wondering. You're like, she doesn't never pick anything up. No, because I can't. I don't know. I saw somebody doing this cool technique where they held their phone kind of off, where you saw them. They were clear, and I thought I'd try and look cool, and it didn't work. I guess I just have to practice randomly so I get it down, and then I can do something like that. Anyway, that's a great tip, and be very cognizant of distance and the prizes. Oh, good to see you. Subscribe to Sweep Sheet and Sweepstakes Plus today after you recommended in your last live chat. Oh, good. Yeah. And the other thing too is, if you find after a while, you're like, well, I really like this one, but not this one as much. You can always drop or switch them up. But they're good ones. I listen to your YouTube videos when I'm doing chores around the house. Oh, that's so thoughtful. It's funny because I listen to other people. Oh, yes. Beverly. Oh, wow. When I won the Daytona trip, she told us all about it in the last club meeting. It was amazing. And I said to thank you, and they sent me more swag. There you go. Oh, yes. Can my hubby and I enter the same sweepstakes if it says one per person household? Could that disqualify us? Yes. That will disqualify you. So unfortunately, it's just one. So here's how my rule of thumb for the one per household. Who's the one that's most likely to use the prize? So for example, when I was married, he worked in an office, but I was self-employed. So I could usually travel more easily than he could. So I would always enter the trips, because if I won the trip and he could get the vacation time off, I would obviously take him and we would go. But if he couldn't, I could take a friend, because generally trips are non-transferable. That said, I also play to the demographics. So one time it was one per household, and it was a golf trip, and he loved golf. So I entered him. He actually won that one. That was the last trip I won before we got a divorce. And he was able to take a buddy and go golfing in Scotland, which was, a dream come true. So it depends on what the prize is and who's most likely to travel. So that was, wow. Wendy says, I've heard of you for years and I've been entering since 1991. Oh my gosh, you have to come to a club meeting. That would be fun. I call us the good crazies. Oh, my grandmother always said la-di-da tool. That's funny. Okay, I think I've caught up on all the questions. Okay, oh, it's radiolocator.com. Okay, you know what? I should actually do a little maybe blog on that and share your tip. If you don't mind, we'll do that. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up if there's no more questions. This is so fun. And because I've been splitting my businesses this year, that's, yeah, I know, right? I've been splitting my businesses this year. So tomorrow night is my, I'm on Words for Winning, my other channel. And that's where all the Helene Hadsel stuff, well, except this is what's weird about Helene. She has her contest stuff and she has her manifestation stuff. So if it's contest related, I'm keeping it here. If it's manifestation related, it's moving up there, plus all the other teachers. And so I'm doing a history of her spec method because most people don't realize, and I actually forgot about it until I started doing the Audible book and I was going through her work and I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that. She didn't actually create spec until 2009, a year before she died. She never used it to win any prizes. Oh, can I use 3x5 sticky note stander? I didn't even know they made 3x5 sticky notes. Cool. I think that would be a little annoying because what happens is generally here, I have a notepad. Pretend it's 3x5, right? Oh, and I have some sticky notes. So this, you write your name and everything on it. Okay. You put your name and everything on it. And it's going to go into an envelope. Well, you're going to put this in an envelope. It's going to stick in the envelope. And they're going to try and pull it out. It's going to be really annoying. Really annoying. If they're annoyed, who knows? And they might rip it. If they rip it. And a lot of times, depending on what they do with these, they either number them and put that number in the database for when they do the draw, or someone actually manually types these in. So it depends on the sweepstakes. I wouldn't do this only because I can just see it as annoying. Like, you know, like it sticks to this, right? Like it's not going to come out of the envelope super easy. And it is plain and it is a fun color, but you can buy colored paper because it says, and when it says plain piece of paper, I just stick to white. Like some of the biggest winners don't do anything outlandish. So there's a whole group of people, especially when it was the mail-in days, right? If you go to my YouTube channel, oh my God, it's so dated. I had this videotape for years and I totally forgot about it. And then Super Lucky Die was asking me a question about a show or a documentary or something in the 80s about sweepstakes. And I'm thinking, why does that sound familiar? And then I realized I had the tape. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I went and had it digitized and I put it up on YouTube. And you can go watch the show. And first of all, it's square because it's like formatted for the old TVs. And then the clothes, and they show how people would mail in like so many entries. Oh my God, it's so great. You have to check it out. And it's really the old way of entering. It's gone. But you know, mail-in is still around because if a company has a purchase sweepstakes, they have to offer a no purchase entry option. And it's usually mail-in. But it depends on how they do the mail-ins. Now, some of them code them and add them to the database. So that's why printing legibly is really important. Oh, right. I remember the days of drawing UPCs. I actually started sweeping when they still had that. I think I caught the tail end of the mail-in days and the early days. Like I was right at that convergence when I started. So I kind of saw the end of the mail-in and the beginning of the online. And I saw all the social media changes. Oh my gosh, I have been doing this a while. Anyway, Helene had never won anything using her spec method, and most people don't realize that. She didn't even have spec in her first book. When she redid it in 71, she came out with a book, and she had a 3-step method. And then in 1988, she came out with the second edition, and at the end of the Maneuvers for Witchcraft chapter, I did a post on that, a blog post on that on my Words for Winning website. She had select it, project it, expect it. And then in 2009, she wrote an article for the Sun magazine because it was very depressing, and it was the full spec. And that's what's in the book now. It was actually an article. She never wrote it for the book. Who knew? And then she plunked it in the book, but because she had no skills for computer skills, she wasn't very tech savvy. Go check out my Instagram and my Facebook page for Words for Winning, because I was cleaning my office out. I've been reorganizing it and sorting things out, and I found some old pictures of Helene that I hadn't seen before, and it's her sitting in front of her computer with her daughter-in-law Fiona, and then she has one of those old monitors that are like that big. Yes, I actually remember that too. Go to the grocery store and they had the forms attached to the entry boxes, or they called them shelf talkers. Do you remember, you go past, you go down a certain aisle, and then they would be a shelf talker with the entry pad, and you could take the entries. Yep. So I hope I answered all your questions. How to search for the old video. Oh, if you go onto my Contest Queen YouTube channel, I think it's under television shows is the playlist. But if you click on videos, not live, like YouTube keeps rearranging how they sort things. So I think the first one is like most popular, and then I think you can do videos, and then you can do live, and then something else. And if there's a playlist, look for the one that says television shows. And there should only be 3 on that playlist. Is it entering purchase only sweeps by mail a waste of time and money to do so? Depends on the value of the prize. So for example, I was cleaning my office and I found a chocolate bar I bought. I'm like, how did I miss this chocolate bar? So I said, George, we have dessert. But it was, you had to send a picture of the receipt, or you could do the mail-in entry. Now, to purchase a chocolate bar at the dollar store is 88 cents. For me to buy a stamp, it's $1. It's a no-brainer. I'm buying the chocolate bar. I spend less than the postage, and I have the chocolate. Of course. However, if the prize is fairly expensive, the purchase is fairly expensive, I will do the mail-in option. If it's something I buy, but not buy frequently. So for example, there was one I entered this summer that you had to buy 3 products from the brand. So I ended up buying buns, 2 different kinds of buns. Like I bought the 3 different products, but these weren't things I was going to buy like every week. They weren't part of my regular grocery routine. And so I did once with the purchase because I think it's good to support the sponsor. But then the other ones I did mail in. So I think you have to weigh it out. What is the prize? What is the purchase? Is it part of your everyday life? Is it super easy? Like you kind of have to weigh out those components and then determine if you're going to do purchase, mail in, or a combo. And then you decide. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for this month. Stay tuned because I'm hoping to get, not hoping, you don't hope, you either do or do not. I will be getting back to a routine where I'm starting to do interviews of the mover and shakers. I'm working to pick a date. I'm going to be interviewing a brand new sweeper, which I think is going to be fascinating because I have spoken to people who've been doing it for a long time, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see this hobby through a fresh set of eyes. And so I'm going to be, my plan is to eventually have one sweepstakes chat a month and one interview a month, and then do the same on my Words for Winning. One interview a month, one chat a month. So, because there's only one of me, that's 4 live videos a month, plus all my social media, plus all the other things I do. So that's the plan. And then hopefully I can ramp it up as books are coming out. Yeah. And all your chit chat gets you in the entries. So, I will talk to you guys on. Oh yeah, and if you have questions in the middle of the month, email me at questions@contestqueen.com. I will send you an answer, and then I will usually save it for the end of the month to answer for other people too. Because if you have the question, I'm sure someone else does. So I like to share the love. Bye for now.